Well, welcome. Here we are, game five. You are watching the Holy Grail watch along with myself, Deana Weinheimer, and my colleagues Corey Swartz and Zack Power. So we are in the first intermission of, again, game five of Springfield versus Chicago. But before we get into too much, again, we're going to kind of go around the screen here and introduce ourselves a little bit more in depth, and then we'll start talking about game five. So, Corey, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, so I'm Corey Swartz. I cover the Hershey Bears normally. I've been following Springfield along here as the playoffs have gone on. It's kind of the Atlantic Division guy here. So, yeah, it's another fun one in the series here so far.
Yeah, and I'm Zack Power. I'm a writer here. It's been an exciting playoffs to cover and just to watch alone as a fan. I know this series has had its ups and downs like any other series would, and I think that we're in for a real treat in this game.
And I'm Deana Weinheimer, managing editor at Field Pass Hockey. And I don't know about you guys, but I am getting hyped up for this because I've been seeing tweets all day long from at Calder Cup about get me out of here. I'm getting shined up, all that stuff. And we could have a Calder Cup champion crowned tonight.
Yeah, it's exciting to, be able to say those words at long last after all these years, seemingly, it seems like it's been forever since we've been able to say that about the Calder Cup, that, somebody could potentially hoist it at any point. And, it's in the house tonight. It feels great to see that again. I know, it should be motivation for Springfield and, motivation for Chicago to come out and keep playing their best here and make that a reality.
Well, as we are watching the ice be resurfaced in Springfield, Chicago is up 1-0. They also have the advantage in shots right now, 13-8 over the Thunderbirds. What are your thoughts so far? I mean, Chicago looking status quo, Springfield pretty much the same too.
I think that when you have to look at Springfield's game, you have to look at the first 10 minutes. And I think a lot of that was power play time, yes, but there was also some really great moments where they looked cool, calm and cool. Even when it was regular, even strength, they looked kind of calm in the offensive zone and in the defensive zone. They said, yeah, we're going to get it out. It's no big deal. We're going to keep moving. And I think that's what kind of Springfield needs to return to in the second period is just this calmness and playing your own game. There's something to be said about that. We always say play your own game, but there's something to be said about it when you're just calm and you're going to swiftly move it up the ice. For Chicago, I mean, how many times has Andrew said they have to stay out of the box? And I'm afraid that it's going to burn them. It hasn't yet, but getting two power plays off to Springfield early on gave them a lot of confidence in the early going. I know Chicago did kind of come back because there was a relentless assault by them in the back half of that period. But for me, I thought it was pretty well down the middle.
Yeah, I agree with that. Going right along with what you said, it seems like a lot in this series that the puck's been going in for Chicago where it hasn't gone in for Springfield in a lot of ways. And a lot on that is on the power play, too. I mean, a night ago, we were just watching Springfield. I believe it capped at 9 power play opportunities for them in game 4. And, they got a lot of chances. You could tell, especially on those first couple of power plays, they're frustrated. Puck's not selling for them. Their shots aren't going through. Passes are just a little bit off there. And you're seeing that kind of snowball into some frustration for them, I think. And, it boiled over a little bit on the second power play. I thought especially it looked like they were just a little out of sync, threw themselves off sides at one point. Just nothing's going right for them. And you had to think if that they can turn that fortune around, they could extend this series and make it very interesting.
Well, there are a couple lineup changes, notably and maybe only in goal for Chicago. They are turning back to Alex Lyon, giving Pyotr Kochekov the night off. For Springfield, they are going back to the veteran in Charlie Lindgren.
Yeah, fear of the back-to-backs here, that's for sure. I mean, we've obviously in a series, and we've been talking about it all the time here, 7 games in 10 days here to, play out the Calder Cup here. And, I really think it's a case where all four goaltenders in this series are ones that the teams feel comfortable using. Obviously, Kochetkov has been the best out of all four of them, and it's not even close in my opinion here too, for sure. He's been fantastic, but Alex Lyon's tested. I can say that as a guy that's watched him play for Lehigh Valley for a number of years. At this point here, he's a fantastic goaltender. They have just as much confidence in him as I think they do Kochetkov. Again, really two strong goaltenders for Chicago, and Springfield, they've been thrown at the wall to see what sticks, and both their goaltenders, I think, have given them the best they can given the circumstances.
Well, again, game number 5 of the Calder Cup Finals. We are awaiting the players and the officials to return to the ice here. As of right now, Chicago is up in this game and, of course, on the series, 1-0 in the game, 3-1 in the series. So that means Chicago, if they win tonight, they will be crowned Calder Cup champs. And we already do have a comment coming at us with the hashtag THGLive. If you have any questions, please get in on it. Again, tweet us THGLive, use that hashtag. And of course, the first question, surprise, surprise, coming from my husband, but he wants to know, does Chicago take home the hardware tonight, or does Springfield live to see another day? Personally,
how am I supposed to answer that?
I'm just going to say, because our esteemed colleague Andrew Rinaldi, who picked quite the time to have a little golfing vacation, he is projected to go see the final games in Chicago. So I will say that that Springfield does live to see another day, because I want him to be able to go cover this game and see things awarded live. So we'll see how that goes.
I mean, we talked so much earlier about how critical these games are in Springfield because they're back-to-backs, they're on Springfield ice. But really, I think that the way that the momentum is shifting right now, and I think that Chicago is starting to feel grasp the game, right? And I think that's, again, what we've seen in the back half of this period. We can go back into this period, and it'll be the exact same way. This is like a tuxedo cake. That's the best way to describe this last period, is a tuxedo cake, right? Where it's half chocolate, half vanilla. Right. And I think that we're kind of getting the best of both worlds, but I'm just tasting a little more chocolate here. And I think that it's going to be Chicago is going to pull away with this little ounce of momentum.
Yeah, we've seen this play out a couple of times here in this series so far, especially after it's gone back to Springfield, which is counter to, what I said going into this series for sure. But, it just seems like Chicago, I mean, they've scored to open the scoring 5 straight times now. In this series. And, anytime you're playing from a position of strength, Chicago has taken a ton of penalties. We talked about that a lot here, but they've also killed off a majority of those. And, it's really to the point where it's been a non-factor here for sure. And, it only serves to give you momentum when you're killing penalties and your confidence is really high. And, you're getting all these breaks, as I'm sure we'll see with the lone highlight there on the goal for the first period. When things are going in, you're feeling good. And, it's sometimes it's just impossible to really take that, decisive edge away from a team. It's hard to shift it. If you don't get on another team's throat right away to shift it, it can be an impossible task.
And I will say this, if we do get enough tweets on the hashtag, I do have some candles here somewhere. I do have the lighter still, and I will just start burning things until we see ourselves satisfied again.
Oh, no.
So I'm making the proposition now. I do have the lighter here somewhere. They haven't locked it away from me yet. And we will burn things.
I'm
As my landlord's
intrigued.
not watching, we should be okay.
Well, luckily, we're getting ready to go back into some action before this delves too far off. But yes, the officials are back on the ice. Players are taking that little bit of a lap around their side of the ice, and we're getting ready to go here into the second period. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the Holy GrAHL live with our reactions and commentary on Game 5 of the Calder Cup Finals. Chicago is up 1-0 over Springfield. So, who got just your opinion? Who's going to be the big players to watch here in period number 2?
I have a hard time picking against the big guns for Chicago. They've gotten it done time and time again. Josh Levo and Andrew Podorowski. I mean, what else can you say about them at this point? They're, leading the league in points and goals, in the playoffs here for good reason. And they've been fantastic during the regular season. The puck just, great players, the puck follows them in a lot of ways. And, we saw it last night, especially where if it weren't for, some gutsy efforts from those guys, it would have been a much closer game. And, I would have liked Springfield's odds a little bit to find another goal to even at a James Neal goal that came, well after the fourth goal would have looked a lot bigger and probably would have been a game tying goal possibly rather than anything else. So it's a little bit of a shame for Springfield that, they haven't been able to nullify their clutch power, for lack of a better word, but we'll see. I mean, this second period is anybody's period right now.
For me, I got to look to the goaltenders. Again, this has been a long series, I think, for both these teams, like any would, and you really got to rely on your goaltenders, especially in these critical games.
All right, as we reset on this initial puck drop, and it looks like this one's good. Period 2 is underway. But again, we're going to turn to what we consider the golden standard when it comes to AHL reporting, and Patrick Williams, who tweets out that the Wolves are 12-3 this postseason when scoring first, which of course they did tonight. During the regular season, they scored first a league high 50 times, and in that span, they were 36-8. 3-3. So odds are definitely in Chicago's favor, but it's the postseason. You never know what might happen.
Those kind of numbers feel reminiscent of some of the, superpower teams we've seen win the Calder Cup in years past. And of course, me being a Hershey guy, I'm going to go with the Hershey example of the 09-10 Bears that, had at one point one of the highest point totals ever seen in the regular season. And, just did a lot of incredible things. And, a little bit like the Wolves overcame an early 2-0 series deficit in the Calder Cup Finals against the Texas Stars and won 4 straight. And some pretty gutsy efforts there. And like you said, the playoffs are anybody's game. And, you use your, shortened memory type of thing to try to, eliminate any kind of leads or anything like that. It worked out for them. And, in a similar vein, Chicago's come storming back and really established their game, I think, in the, since that dramatic game 1 finish for sure.
Well, it's a pretty choppy start to this one. We're only about not even a full minute in yet, and it's just a little choppy here. But and Pekka, long shot, and Lyon handles it. Just nothing quite high dangerous chance or anything like that for Springfield yet.
Yeah, you see some of the. Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
I think that there's something to be said about getting off quality shots. And I think that that's going to be something that they're going to have to look for on a quality goaltender, right? Like we're past the stage where goaltending is a little iffy for some teams and it's not so iffy for others. No, we have 2 high-class goaltenders in the net right now. A shot like that, it isn't so quality that you'd kind of be looking for, but I mean, there's something to be said about getting those off.
And you might have seen a rebound or something like that given up, but, I think Lyon's going to be really on his game here. And very, if Kochekov's hard to beat, Lyon's also going to be extremely difficult to beat. So you really want to try to, not fire it right into his crest or, in some place where he can eliminate a rebound. And, I hate to say, I think that's probably the only way you're going to find a way to beat this guy playing the way that these guys are playing right now is to get a chippy goal and, more importantly, get bodies in traffic, which is something that Springfield hasn't really been able to do quite as much as I've seen them do earlier in this playoff for sure. And, only 9 shots on goal so far. You want to see him maybe up that number here in the second period. They had 21 in the second period last night. And, that was really what overpowered them into the net was for Klim Kostin's power play goal was just, volume and opportunity with penalties also contributing to that.
Well, even the one goal that we have so far in this game that went in Chicago's favor, it was one of those fluky goals where, someone gets it on net, the rebound kind of comes off or gets deflected somehow, and then it was friendly fire, it bumps in off of somebody's backside, and that's all that it took. And it's just one of those things. You just got to get it in on net because you never know when it's going to happen. But that Chicago defense is suffocating. It's stifling. And I don't know if Springfield's going to be able to bust past that right now.
And that's why we've seen some of the more puck luck play out before us that's been going on for them, just as it's been going for this whole series. Is, they had a puck, not land cleanly on a guy's stick with a great chance on the back door. And then a pass back out to the blue line hits the referee's skate of all things and, leads to a 4-on-2 the other way that, Springfield was able to defend well enough to neutralize. But it's just, I don't mind the simpler shots if you can get bodies and traffic in there because, like you said, you just got to get it on goal at a certain point and, hope that you can get something. And, anytime you get a goal after you've not scored for a little while, it gives everybody on the bench a little lift and, to say, hey, we can do this and, parlay it into continuing to get those chances and continuing to make your own breaks as the series wears on.
I will say Charlie Lindgren is giving the fans in Springfield a show. He has made some really magnificent saves and he's putting a little bit of a flourish on it, putting, an extra little swipe of the glove or flashing the leather a little bit extra. And he's an enjoyable goaltender to watch whenever he's on his game.
Yeah, I'd describe it as defiant almost, where, it's a mentality the team needs to take on. He knows what the situation is and he knows where it's at. And he's not giving up and the rest of his teammates need to rally around him. That's for sure.
And to your point as well, like he's been around the AHL for so long, like Lyon, right? Like both of these guys have real world AHL experience. So it really changes the dynamic of this game.
And we just have a lot of back and forth going on here. We are now just got a whistle, 15:57 here remaining in the second period. Chicago still leading 1-0 with 15 shots to Springfield's 9. Just neither team could really get zone time here. It's just a kind of back and forth a little bit and not a whole lot to talk about really so far.
Yeah, and it's hard when both teams, I think they bring a similar style of play where there's, a lot of stand up at the blue line. It kind of devolves into, some stick battles and scrums. And hey, it's much easier to get the puck out of the zone than to, continue with it in the offense. And I think it's going to be, offense is going to be at a premium. And, it's, again, kind of circles back to taking advantage of your chances and getting some of those bounces. You just don't know how many you're going to get, honestly.
James Neal almost had a bounce.
Because I know that Andrew's watching this as well. I could see him live tweeting a little bit here. So I'm very curious what hole he's on, number 1. And 2, what does he think of this game?
Oh, are you talking about the FPH Wolves account?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's Corey, man, and that tonight. Corey's doing double duty for us.
My Lord.
Every once in a while, Andrew chips in with a tweet from there I've seen. So,
okay.
It's a combination effort, I think, right now.
I
like it
because the takes were pretty hot at some point. So I'm just kind of.
I usually only take over around game time, really, and I try to keep it fairly even and fairly, not neutral because it's a Wolves-based account, of course, but tame is probably what I'd call it. Honestly, I don't have as many hot takes since I'm a guest on the account for sure.
And that's sometimes the hardest part about covering a team on a beat is, oh my goodness, Podorowski with some big coverage there. The puck just went across the goal mouth in front of Lyon, and Springfield's starting to pour it on a little bit here. They just, in the last minute or so, 2 pretty good chances. But back to what I was saying, it's sometimes that's the hardest part because you follow these teams for a year plus, and it's hard to remain impartial and not get excited when things happen. And sometimes we do get those impassioned takes. I mean, Andrew was good at it.
Oh yeah, and if me, if it were about the Bears, I wouldn't be saying that. I'd be absolutely all over the place, bouncing off the walls in a situation like this for sure. Looks like we got a penalty here on the Wolves again for high sticking.
Jesper Sellgren at 5:39, 2 minutes for high sticking. That is actually Chicago's 3rd penalty of the night. The first 2 came in the first period for Stefan Nason and Kevin Fitzgerald, both with tripping calls. But we'll just have to see if Springfield can maybe get that magic back. We saw them have issues with the power play in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Rocket, and they kind of sprung out in game 7, and it cooled right back off.
Yeah, and it's interesting, with the Springfield power play too. I think a power play goal would do wonders for them at this point in the game to get a tie effort out of it. I mean, they've looked pretty good here so far, and by the time they got a power play goal, yet in yesterday's game, it was really not too little, too late, because it was 3-1 at that point. You'd like to see them get a tie game out of it rather than cutting into a deficit or anything else, and just to see where the game goes from there. I think it's just it's got to be go time for them right now, and you can tell they've been feeling the pressure here of late to get a little bit more out of themselves. But where their players have cooled off, Chicago's have continued to stay hot, and especially with their penalty kill, they've been finding ways to get out of the zone, and that's been huge.
All right, we're still waiting on a nice opportunity here, but we're going to take a quick look at that high sticking call here. I believe that is Zack. That's up on our FPH account with those clips. Yeah, you can kind of see it in the back there. That high stick.
It's a tough one to take, right? And it's, again, a part of this gauntlet of just a parade to the penalty box, right? And at some point, someone has to be the Santa. And I get that Chicago's penalty killing is A+, and as this game has been no exception, because we're a minute 20 in now, and Springfield really hasn't had a nice chance, right? But when we talk about their penalty taking, like, at some point Springfield is going to capitalize. It's a given, right? It's hard, a broken clock strikes twice a day, right? And I think that's pretty well what's going to happen is, just when you're saying, oh, it's okay, we'll just cover it off, we'll kill this penalty, it's too late.
Well,
yeah, and I mean, they've been boosted by the fact they've gotten some, fortunate breaks, and it'd be a very different series if, the breaks weren't going their way. I think you could be looking at a deficit for them rather than an advantage in this situation, just because the volume and quality chances have been there, but it just hasn't found net, and it's been baffling. And if you're Springfield, you've got to be a little bit frustrated about it. That it just hasn't gone their way. And it's been atypical for Springfield because their power play has been their bread and butter for a long time.
Wow. Okay, the Wolves just killed off their 3rd penalty of the night. What's a little concerning for Springfield is on all 3 penalties, they have only gotten a total of 2 shots on goal, and that was back in the very first penalty of the night, the Stefan Nason tripping call. That's been it.
So here's the question now. Does that say something about Chicago's penalty killing, or does that say something about Springfield's power play? Right?
I'd say the latter of that one for sure. It's just because it's been, we talked about when you get frustrated, you grip the sticks a little tighter, maybe trying to make an extra play or a pass or something like that. Your game's just a little bit off. Your confidence is affected. And it's becoming more evident that, the volume of chances hasn't helped Springfield out in any stretch. And, it's a little bit of a carryover from the Laval series. Of course, they broke through in game 7 there, but those are their first 2 power play goals that entire series in the 7th game. You can't, usually you don't get that many chances, and you got to give Chicago a lot of credit as well that, even despite their advantage, they've been able to get a lot of shots. I mean, they lead 17-11 and have, spent 6 of the first, not even 30 minutes here down a man here. That's impressive by, any stretch. It goes to show you how skilled the Chicago team really is.
Sure. Just over 11 minutes. If you're just tuning in, just over 11 minutes left to go in the second period. Shots are 17-11 in favor of Chicago. They've killed off 3 penalties, as we just alluded to moments ago. So far this period, it's been a little back and forth, but we really haven't seen any great scoring opportunities to boot.
Yeah, it's been a lot of neutral zone play, a lot of mucking and grinding along the boards, and both these teams playing very conservatively defensively, I'd say, where you got 3 guys back in a good triangle formation at the blue line here. It's hard to break through in a lot of those situations. Both teams like to put up a wall and a curtain, and that's how they've kind of gotten to this point, I think, in a lot of ways, is really by hard work and good defensive coverage. And it doesn't make for the most entertaining game for us to watch. I mean, I think we'd like it for sure if they were running and gunning and going back and forth, but this is what you come to expect in playoff hockey in a lot of ways, and it could change at any given moment, of course, but it's up to both teams to find a way to impose their will on the other. And so far it's just been that one good break that Chicago's had that's the difference right now.
Corey, a little bit of a personal question for you, but you've been around the game for such a long time. I'm sure you've seen the Calder Cup Finals live in person, hey?
Yeah, a couple of times. We were very fortunate for a number of years there at the outset of the affiliation between the Bears and the Capitals to see the Bears go to the finals in 4 of 5 years and win the Calder Cup in 3 of those. So obviously it's been a little while now. We're, about 12 years removed from when that happened. I was tweeting that I guess it was been a couple of weeks by now, but it feels like yesterday and it feels like a long time all at the same time. So it's been, we've been very fortunate in that regard to see so many great teams come through the Bears. But yeah, it's special. I always say it's very special playing hockey into June. I mean, more teams have been fortunate to play into June than ever before, thanks to, how long the scheduling's taken place here. Anytime you're playing hockey in June, it's a special feeling going out to the rink for a playoff game, knowing your team's in it and, getting to see some high quality hockey so late in the season and as it gets warmer and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. And I'm sure these fans in Springfield and especially so in Chicago right now are really, really loving it.
And it's funny because it was only a little while back I seen the Facebook memories pop up of the when the Ice Caps were in the finals in 2014, and I was at one of the early games, but I remember watching the final game on TV at home, and it's hard to kind of watch your team lose in the finals, and I hope that there can only be one winner, but it's tough to kind of watch them on home ice and lose that championship. So best of luck to Springfield, but they're going to have to really turn it up a couple of notches if they want to pull away with something here.
Yeah, it's hard. I can think back very fondly and memorably, maybe not as fondly, I should say, but clearly to when the Bears made it all the way back finally in 2016 and lost to the, at the time, Lake Erie Monsters. And that ended up being a sweep in that series. It didn't feel like it. The Bears, actually in similar fashion, these Springfield guys here, really put on a good show and, lost it. I believe, if I remember right, it was like in the final seconds of an overtime period. And it was just devastating. I mean, like I said, we've been fortunate to see the Bears win a number of times in my lifetime. And, just another reminder of how hard it is really to get to this point, and let alone to take home the Calder Cup. It's so difficult. Even for the best of teams, it's extremely difficult. So, it's a huge accomplishment, and not a feat to be taken lightly for sure.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to actually be at that clinching game in Cleveland back in 2016 with Lake Erie versus Hershey. And there is no atmosphere quite like a potential clinching game. I cannot imagine what the atmosphere is like in Springfield. And if there's any sort of watch party or anything like that going on in Chicago, I would love to be there.
Yeah, I remember that
Absolutely.
series was televised on TV in Canada, and I just remember just watching that place go absolutely nuts during the final game. Like, that was so crazy. Like, it's amazing. I'll never forget that.
Yeah,
Well,
anytime you get to go out to a game in the playoffs and things like that, over the years with the Bears, when we've gone to, I'll tell you guys a good story. I've been to the games in the finals each of the years the Bears were in it back then. Not all of them, unfortunately. And the only time I've seen them win in the finals was in the year they didn't win the Calder Cup in 2007 against the Hamilton Bulldogs. It's such an awesome experience to be in the arena for those kinds of games. Would absolutely recommend if you get a chance to go to one of these games, or help pack the house. It's awesome.
what was so great about that, especially in the finals? Now, of course, Cleveland, then Lake Erie, plays in the same building as the NBA's Cleveland Cavaliers. So it seats a lot more people than your typical barn. Now, normally during the season, they'll have the upper concourse completely blocked off. No one sits up there. But they opened all that up, and it was a sellout game. So what was it, like 18, 19,000 plus, something like that? I can't remember the capacity off the top of my head, but that many people all just going nuts at the same time. It was amazing. But
Oh yeah,
Chicago's starting to get a few nice opportunities here. I mean, I believe it was Jalen Chatfield a few minutes ago, had a breakaway, but Brady Lyle catching up with them, getting the stick in. And now, of course, your usual suspects are right back at it with Andrew Podorowski starting to lead the charge down.
yeah. It feels like we're slowly starting to see things open up a little bit to where teams are getting chances, from dangerous areas, but it's not quite. Some of them aren't going on net. Still, the defense is still kind of there, but it feels like we're starting to see some offensive zone time like we are right now for Chicago. That's leading to at least attempts on goal, if not shots on goal type of thing, where they're battling, and it's more than just this kind of neutral zone trap type of thing.
Is it just me, or do you guys notice that there's a little bit of panic in Springfield's step during that last sequence of events while they were just hemmed in their zone? Like, there was the biggest difference in what I've seen from the first and now is I noticed that there's a little sense of urgency to do something if you're Springfield, right? Like, it's great in one sense, but if I can see it, they can see it, right? And that's the thing, right? If there's any sort of panic, they'll feast off that.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Oh, absolutely.
So while we have a little break in the action, Corey, perhaps you can answer this question here. We have another question coming in with the hashtag THG Live. Didn't Springfield go over its first 30 with the man advantage in the series before the 2 power play goals against Laval in Game 7?
That's correct. Yeah, they were handed a similarly large amount of opportunities to what they have been in this series so far. And, it was a little bit of the same thing. I think that Laval's penalty kill was also their bread and butter. They gave Springfield's power play a good run for their money here, and it was part of the reason why it went 7 games. And Springfield was able to find offense from other areas, particularly at even strength. And none of those goals were particularly low scoring games. And obviously Springfield was only blanked in game 6 there, but it was baffling really, because in the Wilkes-Barre and the Charlotte series, their power play was to the point where you'd say, oh boy, here it comes. It felt just that strong, where everything that they were touching seemingly went to gold. And now as this series has gone on, I'd almost say it's a ripple effect from the Laval series, where Chicago's penalty kill has been noted as very strong up to this point. And how many times did Andrew say during our previous shows leading up to this that discipline will be a huge factor? And it hasn't. I hate to say you kind of you're having success by proxy, but the amount of success they've had has been dictated certainly by Springfield's struggles carrying over and Chicago's success also carrying over. So the recency thing has been a huge factor in here, compared to the most recent, compared to where we started in the playoffs, for sure.
Yeah, I'm just watching Springfield very closely here, because it looks like they're starting to maybe settle back down a little bit. That a little bit of urgency while Chicago was pressing has seemed to let go just a little bit. Almost had a goal there, but goes just wide again. I'm honestly shocked at this point how many of these shots are going so far wide.
Yeah, and I think that, to Zach's earlier point here, I think we're starting to see Springfield, trying to step up with a little bit of urgency and, maybe make a little bit of a step-up play that kind of led to that chance there for the Wolves that went just wide of Charlie Lindgren. And, I think that Chicago's done a great job of threading the needle with their passing. And, I think this aggressive style may catch up to Springfield. We're seeing it a little bit right now as the Wolves get their first power play of the game as Klim Kostin takes a seat.
Yes, slashing 2 minutes for Klim Kostin at 15:29. But before we get into that, Zack's pulling that extra duty. He's manning our at the Holy GrAHL account, and he has
get paid by the clip.
Then I'm expecting a lot of clips here. But we've got another clip of yet another great save by Charlie Lindgren. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at that. But yeah, it looked like it had the right angle, but he just gets that left skate out there and manages to kick it away.
Oh, we got a goal through a screen. That's been the difference here so far.
We got it.
Joey Keane with the shot from the blue line. And it looks like it maybe changed directions. Andrew Podorowski's leading him down the line. There was a lot of traffic in front of Lindgren. I don't think he ever saw it. We had a great angle from it from the broadcast here, where there was just a lot of daylight on that far side, Charlie Lindgren's glove side. And I just found a home here, waiting to see the replay to see if it was pretty clear if it was deflected or not.
Yeah, I rewound it back to the actual goal, and it looks like Nason may have gotten part of it.
Oh, yeah, Nason was the closest man to it.
Either way, Chicago up 2-0 over the Springfield Thunderbirds. Yeah, less than 4 minutes to go in the second period. This was do or die time to start for Springfield, but now they really have to be feeling the pressure.
Yeah, this is kind of the same thing as a night ago, really, where, it's unfortunately been a snowball effect. Chicago gets the first goal. Springfield can't capitalize on some opportunities, and it ends up in their net again. It's just hard to recover from, I think, truly.
I wish Andrew was here, because this would be some amazing video. I'm really sad that he is not here right now. Because if you thought his reaction to the Wolves getting into the finals was unhinged, like I couldn't even imagine what this would be right now.
Yeah, I was about to say we didn't get to see it so much in our last live show. I was a little disappointed by that, if I'm being honest. So I was hoping to see a little bit more of it, and had to do some kind of show afterwards, maybe, even though it won't be quite the same as doing it live, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. From now on, he is no longer to take vacations during the playoffs at all, because he is shortchanging all of us right now.
I wonder how that affects your golf swing, though. I mean, when you're panicked, wondering if the Wolves are going to win, and then you're on the 9th hole. I mean, it gets tough.
I don't even want to think about how his golfing is going right now. All right. And let's go ahead and grab, or we're not going to grab, we're going to watch a nice angle of this 2-0 goal. Again, Zack coming in clutch with these clips here, but this is a nice kind of reverse angle shot. And I still can't tell who gets that.
But keep it on there for a second. How is Lindgren supposed to see how many Chicago guys we have there in front of the net? 1, 2 at least, and another 2 Springfield guys who are all swatting at that puck. If you're Lindgren, what are you supposed to do? Right? That's what gets me. Right? Like, move them out of the way or figure something out. Block the shot. But if you're Lindgren, you can't be charged with that goal because there's just so much traffic in front of that net. It's so tough. Right, like you're already seeing through 2 Wolves and possibly 2 Thunderbirds already, and then it changes direction. Nothing you can do, not a thing.
They're currently crediting that goal to Andrew Podorowski, by the way. He did lead him down the line, so I mean, it must have been fairly obvious to them. It's not obvious to me looking at the replay there, but it did appear to kind of change direction, maybe rainbow a little bit, just looking at the replay a little bit there. I'm not sure if that's maybe an optical illusion by the camera angle, but it must have hit off of him somewhere along the line and contributed to Lindgren's inability to, really pick that up visually.
Well, we do have our ECHL editor, Carrie Roberts, watching us live on Facebook. She says, hi, Deana, Corey, and Zack. Well, hello back, Carrie. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you're enjoying. But yeah, I mean, and Andrew made this point in the last game. Like, if Springfield wants to score, they have got to take away Kochekov's eyes. Well, obviously, Lyon is no different.
And I think that's, it happens so much, right? And I think that this is a great example of just, block the shot or get the player out of the way, right? That's the initial shot was something that Lindgren could have saved any day of the week, right? But once it gets deflected, once it gets tipped, once there's bodies in front of the net, it gets so hard to track. You only have a fraction of a second to kind of adjust, see that puck again, and hopefully make the save in his case.
And one of the things that I think is just, sticks out to me, just having watched the Thunderbirds for, some time during the regular season and as well as, most of these playoffs here, is that those types of plays, like these kinds of ones that, Chicago's scoring on they're kind of turning the tables on Springfield in a lot of ways, because these kind of goals had been what Springfield had been getting in clutch moments here. Instead of Joey Keane, usually a lot of times that's Brady Lyle across the way for Springfield, scoring on those kinds of shots through traffic that somebody might be getting a piece of. Tommy Cross has had a couple of goals from the blue line in a similar fashion. It's kind of just taking their game plan on the power play there. And, it's almost like, Chicago's version of their power play is the confident version that Springfield once had. And, you're seeing that flipped on their head, and, Springfield just hasn't been able, they haven't dealt with this kind of adversity before, certainly. And, I can't say they're running out of answers necessarily, but you can just tell that, Chicago's defensive job here has really done a number on their confidence to a degree that no other team has in these playoffs so far.
Yeah, I wish there was an answer that I could give Springfield, but Chicago has just been these last 3 games the better team by far. Even with all of the penalties that they've been taking, they are just triumphant through it all. But we are now down under 1 minute remaining in the second period. Again, Chicago up 2-0 as we are getting ready to head into the second intermission here.
And I will say the other thing with Chicago that stands out to me is that their defense has, they make a 1-0 lead, a 2-0 lead. They make it seem like it's, double that, 4-5-0 at times. So, if I'm Springfield, you're already feeling the burn that says, I need to score a goal. I need to score one now, as we're about to see a penalty called here on Chicago. But, they're making it seem, even though Springfield's got a lot of power play opportunities, even though they, can pour a lot of shots on goal here at times, it hasn't given them any hope in a lot of ways. And, it's been powerful. It's been such a powerful asset for Chicago to, really be able to instill that kind of fear in their opponents, really.
Well, at 19:38 here in the second, Richard Panik headed off 2 minutes for hooking. So this period, unless Springfield scores, will end on the man advantage here. We're just waiting for that puck drop here. I mean, you would have to think that this is a must-win face-off here for Springfield.
Yeah, and that's been another thing that's factored into their lack of success here is they've only had minimal success on offensive zone faceoffs. And anytime you're skating back 200 feet to go pick up the puck and bring it all the way back up again, you're burning energy, you're not set up, these sorts of things happen. There's only 22 seconds. They were barely able to work it in deep and, maybe had a spinning look at it. But by then, there's just not much else you really have to do as a defense.
All right. Well, we are now at the end of the second period. The Wolves, who had a 1-0 lead at the end of the first, doubles up on that with a 2-0 lead here as they head back into the dressing rooms. Chicago leads in shots 22-13. Shots on goal in the period, Chicago 9, Springfield only 5.
And it goes along with what we were saying about stifling defense, is that, there weren't quite as many power play opportunities, but, Springfield, that's got to be one of their lowest shot totals of the series, I would imagine. I'm only thinking off the top of my head here on that one, but just 5 for Springfield, that's not very much. And, they've maybe come close to that earlier in the playoffs, but that's usually when they were protecting a lead or, didn't have to worry as much about trying to overcome a 2-0 deficit.
And for Springfield, the stats really aren't on their side to necessarily win the Calder. I know at least in the NHL, the last team to do it was the 1942 Maple Leafs, right? And a good boy would have done his homework before this game and would have found that out for the AHL. But I bet it's something similar, right? It doesn't really happen all that often, but there's little things that you can kind of do to fight and get back into the game, right? And I think that they really have to capitalize off these power play opportunities. I think they still have I think they still do have a lot of time and an opportunity to kind of do this. Right, you're only down by 2. It's not the end of the world, but something needs to change.
Something big needs to change. Springfield has 20 minutes left, and if they don't, that's going to be it. That's going to be the end of the season. Chicago is going to skate on Springfield's ice, potentially hoisting the Calder Cup. I don't know. I would love to be a fly on the wall on both in both of those locker rooms right now. Like, I would love to know what Ryan Warsofsky is saying to his players to keep them focused on the job, to make sure that, they don't give up any bad penalties or they don't lose focus and let the moment get too big for them. But unfortunately, I'm sitting here in Ohio, not in Springfield, Massachusetts.
And it's unfortunate. Not unfortunate, but it's certainly possible because like we saw with the Tampa Bay and Colorado game, I mean, there was a point there where Colorado, it felt like they were boiling towards, taking that game and lifting the Stanley Cup on home ice. And Tampa Bay very calmly, I think you saw a lot of the poise that's caused them to win 2 Stanley Cups in a row here and are in the finals competing for a third one kick in. And, they very calmly kept playing their game and, eventually, just totally squelched that feeling in the third. And I think that, Springfield, you got to have that in the back of your mind here is certainly a way, they've been in difficult situations before, been able to work their way out of it, slow the game down a little bit, try to, just keep chipping away and, get one and then go from there.
Yeah, this is just, I don't know what to say, honestly. I was really hoping to see more of a pushback, just something out of Springfield, but it's just been, unfortunately, a little bit, I wouldn't say they're on their heels, but they definitely aren't on their toes.
And you know what? I think that you have to remember kind of for Springfield, you got to go back and remember the season that was. No one ever predicted them to be in the Calder Cup final for the most part, right? I think that we can all safely assume that at the beginning of the season, I don't think anybody said Springfield's going to go to the finals, right? But I do think that there's something to be said about their journey to get here, right? They had a great regular season pretty well, right? And they had the battle in a tough Atlantic division where one loss could send you from first to fourth. That's outstanding that you were able to keep your head in that, right? I know Hartford wasn't able to do it. And so to be able to get out of that and then come into the playoffs and then go up against some pretty heavy opponents. I mean, Laval is nothing to kind of to shake your head at, right? They were good. And I think that they did really good. They're doing good in this series so far, right? But it's like what Corey said a little while back. It's almost like they're not getting the same bounces, the same goals. They're shooting the same as Chicago, but they're just not getting it, right? And I think that what we are kind of seeing now is it all collapsing, right? This is what could be the beginning of the end, but for what I'm trying to say is Springfield, they just got to look back and say, how did we get here? We've got over so much adversity and just need to pull through for at least one more period for now.
Oh, I agree 100%. And, like you said, with their story, what makes that Laval win more impressive to me is that, Laval came out, they were the runner up to the regular season title a season ago. And, obviously with it being impacted as it was, people often don't put a ton of weight into that, but, that means a lot. And they really came out this year and proved that it wasn't a fluke and it wasn't a coincidence that they are here now because they were, put up such a great year last year. And meanwhile, Springfield, they didn't play, they didn't participate for a whole season. They were absent. And, coming into an affiliation change, coming into, a ton of different aspects there, you could almost written off the whole season as saying, well, they're just getting used to it. They're just this, they're just that type of thing. Make some excuses for yourself here and, pat yourself on the back. But, Springfield, especially when they were decimated so hard by COVID in December and, really struggled. Almost their whole team was up in St. Louis at that point. And, even coming back, they got most of their players back. They ended up losing a key piece like Nathan Walker, who, hasn't come back because of his status on an NHL roster. You still had some adversity there, even as they got fully healthy. And then to, take advantage and make a run up to, really probably they should have been the top team in the Atlantic. I mean, I think that, Charlotte kind of got away with, having a hot run and, benefiting from that points percentage situation, and the uneven amount of games really perked them up a little bit further, I think, because I really think it was only on the tiebreaker that they were ranked ahead. I'd have to go back and look, but, and then to just sweep through as Springfield did, and, at a point where they won 10 games in a row combined with the, regular season there, it's nothing to, balk at by any stretch. And, I think when they're in that locker room, they probably need to come together and say, hey, it's been a heck of a run, guys. This is a special group. We believe we have earned the right to be winning this Calder Cup right now. We've been stymied. We need to just go out and play, put it all on the line. Our best 20 minutes, no matter what happens, even if we lose, we can hang our heads high or, hold our heads high and say, hey, we gave it 100% of our heart and soul here. And, at the very least, give the fans in Springfield one last great period of Thunderbirds hockey and hope it's enough to really extend it beyond that into a, game in Chicago. This is their last period in Springfield regardless this season. So, it's really gut check time, lay it out on the line and, just got to make it your best 20 minutes of the season.
And I think, we mentioned it way earlier in the podcast months ago, that the AHL kind of had this strategy of let's just keep going, right? And you know what, Springfield, and it's like what you mentioned, Springfield kept going through some pretty tough times, right? And I think that's something to kind of look back at is, their season wasn't always filled with rainbows, right? And for Chicago, they always had that extra man. If Podorowski was to go down with COVID or anybody else, it always seemed like they had that extra man to kind of step in. But here, I feel like it's such a team effort to kind of get to this point, and it's too bad to see them down in what could be the final game.
And it's credit to Chicago all the way here on this one too, for sure. I mean, they've proven that, no matter what situation and what circumstance they're battling through or dealing with at the time, that they can come in and say, hey, we don't care who our opponent is. They've run over some pretty good teams in their way up here too. And, we knew they were going to be the toughest task and they had a lot of depth and, but by and large, they've been able to get their big guys to continue scoring. And, I don't think you can say enough about Peter Kochetkov coming in game 2 after, what was a real gut check time for them. After Springfield once again worked their magic to win in overtime in game 1. And, suddenly you're looking at a series where I think if you're Chicago, you could have been really worried about that. But he came in and played so well that, now all of a sudden they've turned it around and won 3 straight games and, made it look easy in a lot of ways too. So, I think both teams had to be approaching this their own way here. And, if I'm Springfield, I'm saying put it on the line. But if you're Chicago, it's like, hey, this train's been going strong for 3 games now. We've made, we've established our game here. Let's just keep the fire extinguished here. Don't give them a chance. And, you're 20 minutes away from lifting the Calder Cup. You just have to put it out of your mind while recognizing it, but putting it out of your mind and just playing your game here. I'm curious to see how Chicago's going to come out if they play conservatively, maybe a little bit, or if they, continue to try to keep putting their foot on the gas pedal in terms of scoring goals too.
Well, I want to go back to the first period here real quick. We have a clip of this save by Charlie Lindgren, and he honestly is the reason why this game hasn't blown wide open here. I mean, just watch the extension on this, getting the glove right on it, knocking the rebound off to the side. That way it's not coming straight back. He's keeping this game close.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about in that last goal. And we've seen saves before that earlier in the broadcast. Charlie Lindgren, he's had to make a lot of saves that, a normal goaltender would really struggle with. And I know that that's not an easy save to make, right? And I think that that's the biggest thing that we kind of need to remember and keep in focus here is the game is as close as what it is because Chicago is giving off some really quality shots. I mentioned it earlier, but they're the ones who are giving off these quality shots, and we're getting quality saves in the back end, right? And I think that this is a big part of Springfield's game right now is they're relying on Lindgren, who's been phenomenal to say the least, right? And giving up 2 goals, it sucks, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lindgren's really come through to coin the term right-handed robbery in this series, based on saves like this one. I mean, he's stretched across in the Laval series, in the Wilkes-Barre series, the Charlotte series, everywhere along the way here that he's, I guess not the Charlotte series since he was up in St. Louis at that point, but throughout the playoffs here, he's really been able to come in. I mean, you think back to the Wilkes-Barre series where he made 50 saves to earn them a big win there. And, he made a number of great right-hand saves. I remember one in particular in Game 7 there he made on Danique Martel with the glove in a similar fashion to that one, honestly, too, where he came across and, he makes that look really easy. And I think that's his strength. And, by and large in these playoffs, I think that Springfield's really been able to capitalize on the momentum that he gives them by making those big saves. But again, if you're Springfield, you like to see those opportunities not really come to fruition, kind of in the same way that Chicago's kind of thrown that game in their face and said, hey, you guys have a weakness. We're going to exploit it here, whether it's a power play, as we've seen here, or, even getting those, goals at even strength, whether they're fortunate or not.
All right, we are anxiously awaiting the beginning of the third period, currently in the second intermission. But if you're just joining us, we had a few new viewers pop in. So hello, you are watching the Holy GrAHL live. But the Chicago Wolves are up 2-0 over the Springfield Thunderbirds. In the first period, we saw an even strength goal from Max Lajoie, from CJ Smith and Spencer Smallman. And then in the second, on the power play, in a tip-in, it was Andrew Podorowski with assists going to Joey Keane and Jack Drury.
Yeah, and the usual suspects have been on the board here. I think that's points for Podorowski and Drury. I think the only guy we haven't seen get on the board so far is Josh Levo, and then everybody would really be here on this one so far. Top guys have been their top guys here for Chicago for sure.
So Zack just shared a very fascinating tweet here in our little private chat here, coming from John Dietz DH. So, bizarre stat of the day: Richard Panik, who gave the Chicago Wolves a 2-0 lead last night, has scored in his last 10 Calder Cup Finals games. All 4 this season, well, up until today, but the game's not over. But through yesterday, all 4. And then 6 in 2013 when he was with the Syracuse Crunch. And his question is spot on. How wild is that?
And I didn't realize that he's been around the game that long. I know that he's been kind of up and down, in and around, right? But it's amazing. And now he has another shot at the Calder Cup. It's a great stat. We haven't seen much of him so far this game, really. He's been kind of moving the puck around a little bit, but, we might just see him get on the board a little here.
One converse stat I'd give to that one is that, at least just from what I, can think of off the top of my head, he has scored a lot, but he's also been, it's been a bit of a dangerous double-edged sword a little bit. He's been in the penalty box a good bit. I don't know what the stat line is, but I know he was in there a couple of times for Chicago last night, and, I think he already has won this game here too. So, it's one of those great high risk, high reward possibilities here. I think he's actually going to be in the penalty box to start the third period, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Richard Panik is currently 8th in the league in the postseason for penalty minutes with 28. Leading the league is Dakota Joshua with 58. And then Tommy Cross and Klim Kostin also in the top 10 of penalty minutes. But the teams are coming back out of the locker room now. This is do or die time for the Springfield Thunderbirds. And what's at stake here? So for Chicago, they are potentially 20 minutes away from the Calder Cup. And again, they have that 2-0 lead. During the regular season, they were 32-1-1 when leading after 2. In the postseason, 10-0-2. But again, tonight, if they win, that would make Carolina the first NHL organization to have back-to-back Calder Cup champions since Washington and Hershey in 2009 and 2010. Of course,
good times.
Of course, the Charlotte Checkers are the defending Stanley Cup champs. Or not Stanley Cup. Wow, wouldn't that be a thing? Defending Calder Cup champs. And the affiliation, moved up to Chicago. Here they are once again.
So a little bit of stats for you, just on Panik while we have a quick moment. In the first 4 games of this series, He's had 23 shots on goal through the first 4 games. That's 3 goals and 4 assists. So I kind of do what you will with that. I don't have the penalty numbers readily available, but that's the breaking news stat department. And I'll take my
What
check.
kind of shooting percentage is that, though? That's what I want to know. I'm not a math person. Somebody do the math, please.
23. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull out a calculator for that one.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
So he's basically getting a goal per 11 shots, really.
Not too bad.
And getting a point per, I lost it, per 5 shots. So say what you will.
All right, we're getting the last puck drop at the Mass Mutual Center for the season. A little bit of a stutter start there, but they finally got the puck down, and the third period is underway. 20 minutes to either destiny for the Wolves or a lifeline for the Thunderbirds. And
Just seeing a couple of tweets from Wolves Nation out there saying this will be the longest 20 minutes of our lives. And I couldn't agree more if I'm a Chicago fan. It's going to be a long period, it's seemingly.
I've been there. I understand. It's okay. We can just, just start tweeting THG Live. We can start a little group here. We're going to support each other. We will get you guys through this.
Well, how do you think that Andrew feels? I mean,
he's got to be going crazy.
I can only imagine.
If it were me, I'd be running off the golf course to check the score, but that's just what kind of person I am, honestly. I wouldn't even gone to the golf course if I were him. I'd be like, listen, the Calder Cup Finals are going on. That's where I'm going to be.
It's starting to get a little dark. They should be off the course by now, right? Depending on how much they had to drink, maybe?
Well, that's also a factor in here for sure.
Especially with him. I'm sure. But yeah, it's only been 30 seconds elapsed. This is going to be a long period. Buckle in, guys.
Man, that play we just saw there with Matthew Pekka taking a shot and getting it blocked by the man out high and out of the zone just kind of sums up Springfield's power play luck. And I kind of wondered about that at one point. For so long, it felt like Springfield really was able to make those shots get through to the net and at least be a problem if they weren't going in. But at this point, Chicago's just gotten in front of those shots. And it's so deflating on a power play when you walk in and get space. And they had guys down low in that situation, but just not able to get the shot through. And then, of all things, to have it come back out on you is really hard. Especially off the stick of a guy like Matthew Pekka, for sure.
Oh, a Lion is without a stick right now. Springfield's got to do something here. If you're going to score, now's the time to do it. You got their goalie without a stick, and
that's been the way it's gone. That goes out of play. I mean, thankfully, it's face-off is still deep at least, where the goalie's able to get his stick back, and it's just been their luck. It's how it's gone lately.
And thankfully, nobody got hurt on that. That puck just buzzed Ryan Warsofsky and the rest of the Chicago Wolves coaching staff. But it looks like everybody's okay. No harm, no foul, no penalty. So they're going to get reset here with 18:26 remaining in the third period. Maybe they'll drop the puck. These puck drops have been a little sketchy here tonight.
Yeah, it's been an adventure, and you don't like to be able to say that about the officiating during games here, but it's one of those things where I'm sure the centers must be feeling a little bit of extra pressure, not only to win the draw, but you have to win this mental battle each time that there's a face-off if the linesman's doing something a little bit different each time.
Well, our co-host Jeremy Paul chiming in on YouTube. Gonna need a better third out of Springfield than we've gotten recently. Yeah, truth, Jeremy. 100% truth. And if you're
Preach.
watching, yes.
I'd like to
And
see the results.
if you are watching right now, want to join in on the conversation, again, tweet us with the hashtag THG Live, or if you're watching live on Facebook or on YouTube, go ahead, pop your comments in the chat, and we'll discuss them here live on the broadcast.
You know, the other things I've been considering lately, just with how long this the season's really lasted, is we only really have a couple of weeks until things for the off season really start to kick off. The draft and then free agency really will hit all at once, and then suddenly we'll be looking at development camps over the summer, and really we'll just have the month of August to get through, and then in September some of it, and then we'll be right back here, covering more hockey again. Of course, I'm not complaining about any of that either, to be honest with you. It feels like it's already been too long since my Bears were eliminated, so I am excited to get back to that next season.
Yeah, these off seasons just seem to be getting shorter and shorter and shorter every single year. But again, I'm not complaining because it gives us something to do, gives us all hockey to watch. And yeah, next thing you know, we're going to be starting prospect tournaments and preseason. But before that, we got to get through this game.
Exactly.
We have a brand new team to look at as well next year.
Very true.
Yes. Spoiler alert. Early, not next week, but the week after that. Keep an eye out with a special feature at fieldpasshockey.com with the newest head coach, or I guess not the newest head coach, but the first head coach for the newest AHL franchise, the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Dan Bylsma just getting that nod earlier this week. We will have an exclusive feature interview with him coming up here in a little over a week.
Calgary's also joining the league too.
That's true.
Forgot about the second team. Well, technically 1.5, but
yeah, we're still waiting on news on them, if they'll be what their new name's going to be and all that. And another penalty. David Gust, 4:44 holding, 2 minutes. But new friend of the podcast at Stormseller97 tweeting out, I guess, the scoreboard in at the Mass Mutual Center is sustaining a little bit of damage there. Thanks to Jalen Chatfield. So let me get this pulled up for you guys. I have one too many tabs open and I'm losing everything. I apologize.
We've all been there before, I think.
Yeah, so they said that Jalen Chatfield broke the corner of the scoreboard.
Oh my.
They're not cheap.
No.
Oof.
Well, and then of course, once I asked, of course, we do our thing. We make sure we have permission. And their comment was, I'm famous, Mom. All right. Well,
one day I'll tell the story on the pod how a team in Newfoundland almost lost their team because of a scoreboard. So
I almost need to know. Oh, Selgren, huge block right now on Sam Annis there. This Chicago PK is just so stifling.
Boo Birds are raining down too in Springfield, which is a pretty clear indication of how they're feeling about things right now.
Chicago's doing a really good job of boxing them and keeping them to the outside, right? They're not really getting in.
Now they're getting a couple of chances here. Line was reaching behind him there on one for a second. I do think the way to beat a guy like Alex Line is you got to pepper him. pepper. And, I've seen plenty of times in Hershey where when he played for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, where the Bears really only beat him because they peppered him. And, eventually got something to go in. And those kinds of chances like they just had there, we're seeing a replay of it now where you're kind of getting him off his angle, getting right up close and personal with him. That's how you score goals in this league sometimes. And, you got to be able to do that to, find success. It can't always be a pretty move or a, excellent shot through traffic. You just got to do what you got to do, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and both the goals, we'll pull up the score center here on AHL.com, but both the goals tonight are coming in from down low. You have one right here, right out in front of the crease. And then, the fans in Springfield are now chanting, "Shoot the puck." That is not what you want to hear in a Calder Cup final game. And then back to what I was saying, you got another goal right there.
Big save by Lindgren there, shorthanded is I'm trying to see who that was able to break away there on Tommy Crossfall and, going down there. I want to say that was Smallman that had the chance.
It was. Spencer Smallman.
And again, Lindgren's doing all he can here. 23 saves. I mean, not the busiest night for him as it sometimes tends to be in games like this, but, he still has the majority of the shots he's faced. And, it's hard to fault him on the way things have gone here so far, for sure.
Here's a quick look at that save from Lyon there.
I don't think he knew where that was at any point. And that's what kind of scares me is how well of a save it was, especially considering that he didn't really know.
Is that an element of puck luck, or is that just good goalies being good goalies?
It's a little bit of everything, honestly. I mean, he has good body position there. It's been a little bit on how things have been, and that, sometimes he's made the save and he doesn't have to know where it is sometimes too. It's just how it's been going. And, I like it for Springfield because they've been able to generate a couple of what I'd call like high quality and high energy type of opportunities. But ultimately, when you run down to any point where your crowd's chanting to shoot the puck and things like that, it just kind of, is another reminder that they haven't done exactly what they need to do at this point, and which is more of that, honestly.
Right. Well, let's take a look at that last save by Charlie Lindgren there on Spencer Smallman, coming in and just gets a small bit of that puck. And I don't want to know if they didn't have Charlie Lindgren doing Charlie Lindgren things, what the score would be right now.
You got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. And I think that there's a little bit of puck luck in the air in this whole series, but there's something to be said about good goaltending as well.
Well, we have a Wolves fan, Lauren Darkin, checking in saying, "Let's go Wolves." Well, your Chicago Wolves they're doing the thing. They're up 2-0 with 12:20 remaining. Again, is this going to be a team of destiny here tonight, or is Springfield going to put it together? That's the question right now. But thank you so much for checking in with us on YouTube. And if you want to get in on the conversation, go ahead and join us in the YouTube chat. If you're on Facebook, same thing. Just put your questions or comments on Twitter. Get us at the hashtag THGLive.
That hurts. Springfield wins the offensive zone draw, but it splits the defenders cleanly down the middle there. No one can reach it, and it comes all the way down, and they're just now trying to recoil out through neutral ice here. That's just how it's been. It sucks because it's just so hard to say any other way. You can say shoot the puck more. You can say to do all these things, but when it's not landing and going your way, it's not landing or going your way. And it's hard. It's very frustrating.
All right, we have Jeremy checking back in. Great stream, y'all. Swipe left or swipe right. Chicago's got this one in the bag with then hitting us with the eye emoji.
Oof.
I used my super swipe this week. I'm sorry.
I don't remember if I have a super swipe, but I can still right swipe. And even though at the beginning of the series I predicted Springfield in 7, I'm going to swipe right on Jeremy's take of Chicago having this one in the bag.
I don't like to call games before they're over, but especially in a 2-0 game, but it's one of those series where it's felt that way. So I agree, I'd swipe right on that just because it feels like that's where we're at right now, where it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And it's been like that for a couple of games now. And it just feels that way. It just feels like you're kind of counting down. So I like to be wrong because like you, I picked Springfield to win this series, and I'd like to be, wrong about this one just for that take to stay in effect. But that's how it feels right now.
We almost had a huge collision on center ice between Ivan Ladnia and Tommy Cross, but luckily Ladnia got his head back up at the last second and was able to avoid that. That would have been... I don't even want to know what would have happened if that hit would have came together.
Yeah, I was about to say, it was definitely a situation where Cross definitely stepped up. And like you said, you got to have your head up in hockey a lot of times or else you're going to get smoked. And just as we saw right now, because Dakota Joshua is about to take another penalty. Speaking of guys we talked about earlier with a lot of penalty minutes. And, it can be dangerous sometimes. You got to keep your head up out there in the open ice. And Cross almost made a guy pay. And now Chicago has another chance to score on the power play. It's actually Will Bitton that's going to the box. My apologies.
And the person that went down was Andrew Podorowski. What a way to fire up Chicago even more by going after their captain like that. I'm not sure that's what you want to do in this situation.
I'm not really sure if they got the right guy here or not, or what they were calling it for. Maybe they were calling Bitton for tripping, and I only saw really the big impact that Joshua did have on him there.
Will Bitton for hooking, 2 minutes penalty at 9:14.
Okay, so it was that first one then. It really looked like just the impact, shot you saw there looked like Joshua's hit there was going to be the penalty, but Will Bitton did have a stick on him to, help him into that hit and make it worse.
Is anybody else getting like the butterflies in their stomach, the nerves, anything right now, or is it just me?
I think it's just you, honestly. I'm not really feeling it as much right now.
I'm channeling Andrew right now. Only I'm just a little more subdued than he is. Podorowski and Drury going in. Leva moved in real nice, but they had 3 Springfield defenders on it out in front of Lindgren there.
How many times have we seen that backdoor play that Chicago just tried there, where they got it from one corner, almost a corner, out to some guy, camped out on the backside of the net like that, from in below the hash marks at least, just for a great chance like that. It's one of those things. It's hard to cover everything when you're down a man, but that's just been the difference in the special team success that we've seen Chicago have, is because they're able to execute plays like that and then also get the goal. While Springfield, those chances have been fewer and further between.
Well,
it just hasn't been enough.
Now 9:17 remaining in the third. We're still, that puck almost went in on a really weird bounce on Alex Lyon, but luckily he was able to get back in front of his net and save that. Still Chicago up 2-0 here.
Yeah, it's been a good battle here so far. I mean, I think that aside from that chance there in the backdoor it was a pretty good penalty kill for Springfield. They looked pretty good. It's killed now and didn't really allow too many other grade A opportunities, I'd say.
I noticed Santini a lot on that PK. He was really good on the board battles, really uh, keeping his assignments just from basically not being able to get off the boards.
Yeah,
That
he's
was
been
real
one of those
strong.
guys that's come up huge in a number of different scenarios for the T-Birds at both ends of the ice here. One of their valuable depth guys, that's for sure.
All right, we have another. Zack has been magnificent in finding these great tweets and these stats from fans and reporters on Twitter. So this one coming from Mark Stencil at Wolves 1994. In the history of the AHL Calder Cup Finals, only 3 teams have come back from a 3-1 deficit to win the series. 1946, Buffalo defeating Cleveland. 1947, Hershey defeating Pittsburgh. 1949, Providence defeating Hershey.
And there were 3-game series as well, I believe. Possibly. But still, nonetheless, it's, the look isn't probable, but I mean, there's still time, right? Like, I think when you're on the bench of a team right now, the first thing that you're going to look and say is, let's just get one. Let's get one and kind of figure it out from there. If they can score a goal in the next 3-4 minutes, that's when you could say, okay, well, maybe we can pull our goaltender, get a little more momentum and pick something up and then force it into overtime. But the game's not entirely over as much as we might want to super swipe it away. It's not entirely over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's still only 2-0. One goal change for Springfield changes the outlook of this completely, as does one goal for Chicago. You really push for one. There's still a lot of time left. You get one here soon and you keep pushing. We've seen stranger things happen in these playoffs here so far, especially when it comes to Springfield's clutch factor in the third period here too, which, the magic just hasn't been there for them as much recently as it had been in previous series. And credit Chicago again for that being a thing there as well. And, like you say, you get one. If you have to pull your goaltender, so be it. But, you lay it out on the ice here, as we were saying during intermission.
So there's 7:10 remaining in the third. Chicago still up 2-0. Shots on goal. Chicago has the overall advantage, 26-19. But Springfield has a slight edge for this third period with 6 shots compared to Chicago's 4.
Right now, it feels like it's kind of a chore for Springfield to even get over the blue line. I've seen them make a couple of indecisive plays in neutral ice that have cost them, especially coming over the blue line. Sometimes that can kind of get in your head too, like that you need to make a big play coming over the blue line. And, both teams have been pretty stout at their blue lines at, not allowing teams any hope really, getting over the blue line a chore. And that continues to be the case right now. And we've seen it happen here plenty of times in the series where it's just you're settling in and you're kind of doing one of these just absolute battles like this. And it's been, you can't, for Springfield, it hurts because you just can't afford to play this game right now.
Yeah, one thing that's I've been watching with this Wolves squad is not only are their players so good offensively, but those exact same players are so responsible defensively. It's hard to find. I guess I should say hard to find because you can immediately talk about the penalties. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of negatives or weaknesses in this Wolves squad.
And you see, like, a lot of times they have 3-4 guys back patrolling the blue line. And right now, I mean, it's kind of what I was curious to see is if they would play a conservative approach or if they'd play, real, more high octane to try to, put this game out of reach. And they haven't compromised at either end. I mean, they're still dumping the puck in and getting, trying to get in there to get chances. But when you're Springfield, it's hard because you just see so many guys and they take away all your options coming over the line. And, even for individual efforts trying to come over the line, you got a guy on you, absolutely all over you. And for Springfield, you keep saying to yourself, what do you do? What's the change for me in order to make this happen? So we get a little bit of a dust up here as Lindgren covers the puck and unintentionally tripped a Chicago forward in the process.
That was Jack Drury that he got down. Drury was 100% committed onto that. I am just scrolling through Twitter and seeing so many Wolves fans and Carolina Hurricanes fans that are reminding each other to breathe, grab a bag if you need to. Just the nerves are something else right now. And you guys might almost be there. 5 minutes, 34 seconds remaining. But Springfield fans, don't lose hope. That is still plenty of time to mount a comeback as the fans in Springfield play the air bongos. You love to see it.
They know how to have fun up there in Springfield. I need to get to a game over there at some point just because it looks like a very fun atmosphere to be in. I'm sure if I went up there wearing my Bears jersey, it might not be as fun for me, but fun regardless for sure.
That's one thing I've noticed. I mean, even though they're down 2-0, looking at possibly seeing the away team skate the Calder Cup on their ice, these fans in Springfield have stayed in this game, and every time they show them, on the camera, they're all smiling, having a great time. Looks like you got a bachelorette party there. It looks like a fun night.
And that's what it's all about there too. You love seeing the finals come to, different places where it might not come all the time, or maybe in a long time, even as is the case of Springfield, where, these fans are really experiencing this for the first time by and large, and, getting to have a lot of fun with it, even though for sure it hasn't been as fun of a 3 games at home as I'm sure their fans would have liked to had for sure. I mean, you can only imagine if it were, reversing a lot of the scores here, how it would be. But they're having fun. They're really enjoying themselves here. And, you love to see these big, full barns full of fans for these big games here, for sure.
And we talk so much about AHL cities, too. I mean, Springfield really is an AHL city. They've had a team around for umpteen years now, as has Hershey and Rochester. It's like the original 6 of the AHL, right? And it's great to see that their fans are devoted enough to come out to the games, i.e. Stockton. But I mean, it's great to come. It's that they're in great spirits for a team that hasn't really been playing so great in their final game of the season, or what could be.
Yeah, likewise with Chicago too. They're one of the teams where you almost kind of forget that they're not quite as old as some of these other teams, because they really sink in with the amount of success they have and the amount of, good teams they've iced over the years and stuff, that, they feel like they're a very veteran organization in a lot of ways too. And this is just another, crown on the way for them. I know it's been since 07-08 that they won the Calder Cup last, but you almost forget about it sometimes because they always seem to be in the mix for things. And, their fan base is very loyal and very passionate, as we've seen on Twitter, just throughout this game and throughout these playoffs in a lot of ways too. They are really behind their team, and, those organizations go a long way for sure.
Yeah, the Chicago Wolves fans, I just want to shout you guys out specifically. We've had a few Springfield Thunderbirds fans too that are in on this, but have been just talking with us on Twitter, interacting with the podcast and our live streams. Thank you all so much for doing that. That's why we're here, is for you guys. But yeah, 4 minutes and counting until the end of regulation here. And the Wolves doing what they always do on defense. One guy tries to enter the zone for Springfield and he skates right into 4 Wolves skaters.
We saw a chance just, a few moments ago where the Thunderbirds, they had one of those good shots that we can track easily from the broadcast here, because it follows the angle that you're kind of looking at the ice from. But it was a shot that went through a couple of bodies and hit the blocker hand of Alex Lyon, and obviously was turned aside. But we've seen some chances like that where that you'd like to just see one of those go in if you're Springfield, and it's they're getting some chances. They're getting closer, but again, it's just hard with the clock being their enemy at this point.
3:30 left to go in the third. This is when I'm going to start looking to pull my goaltender. A little bit of offensive zone pressure that they have now. There's no better time. I would start skating to the bench now.
Yeah, Lindgren's up at the hash marks right now as they come in over the line.
That was a smart play there by Lyon, too, to keep it in play. Just glove it down and bring it back down to the ice. No whistle, no chance for Springfield to kind of take a breather or anything.
Oh, that's going to do it right there. Gust scores on the great feed from Drury. It's 3-0.
And that is with Lindgren in net. The bench just erupted at that. Wow, what a play. What a play. This Chicago team is just beside themselves right now with joy. I mean, Jack Drury set that up perfectly. A little fake, and then you got Gus coming in with the stick on the ice, tips it right in. Perfect play. 2:58 remaining, 3-0. And the Wolves fans are celebrating in the chat. That's a 2-point game for Jack Drury. Again, we've said it before. If you want to do great things and you play in the American Hockey League, come on the Holy GrAHL Podcast. We've had some people come on this season. Andrew Podorowski. We had my mind is blanking on me right now. We've had several people come on that have gone on to have amazing seasons, and it looks like this is continuing on now. And we have Andrew Rinaldi checking in on our Discord chat, and he just, in all capital letters, is this really happening? I wish he was here.
It is.
And he is still on the golf course. Oh, no. Andrew is just beside himself. Oh, my gosh. Up in Traverse City, how good do you think the cell reception is out on the golf course at 9:27 at night? Well, guys, I think this is going to be it. 1:47 and counting. It's just a formality now.
It's been a wild ride. This season and these Calder Cup playoffs. And as they're going to take a timeout for a little while, I mean, Andrew Rinaldi says, quote, "Carry us home. I love you guys. The Chicago Wolves are about to be Calder Cup champions." In all caps, the true reaction you've all been waiting for. It comes in the best way it can.
Yes.
And good stuff. He's absolutely loving his life right now, as is a lot of Chicago Wolves fans. It's been a season to be proud of. It really has. And I can't say enough about how well they've been playing all season, right? Between the goaltending, the offense, the defense, we talk about them almost every week because they're just that good, right? And, you know, it's to be able to even come here and go through a Stockton team, which we thought would be the be-all, end-all. This is the replay here. A great move that even faked out the cameraman and 15,000 people in Springfield or whatever it is.
But
Pass
that's
across.
stick placement. I don't think I've seen a better stick placement this series for that tip-in. That was beautiful. What a season for the Chicago Wolves. They were dominant all season long. And Zack was saying it absolutely perfectly. I'm just ready to see this ceremony here. Oh, Josh Levo trying for an empty net, and it goes wide. 1:25 remaining, and we have an icing.
Yeah, I mean, wow, this is it. It's hard to believe.
What a season. What a season. I'm just so happy to see this full season get in. I know things got a little sketchy back in late December, early January with some COVID delays and illnesses and things like that. But the league, the players, everybody, I thought that goal was going to go in, but LeJoie with the block. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Everybody came through. Just I'm so happy that this season got off the way that it did, and for us to get another Calder Cup champion. Less than a minute remaining, 3-0 Chicago, and we have icing again.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really say enough about how many ups and downs there were this year. You think back to, the amount of excitement just to have the AHL back, just in full in general. Full season. We played through some tough circumstances in the fall there around Thanksgiving and through the month of December and January. Every team was feeling the impact of restrictions on things, and thankfully we were able to kind of power past a lot of that. Keep playing in full, and getting to this point with the playoffs is really exciting. As Nason just misses on an empty net chance for another icing. 33 seconds remaining from my count.
These empty netters. Oh my gosh.
I think there's a lot of excitement right now on the Chicago bench. Chicago Twitter right now is absolutely loving life and nothing more. Good on them. And, they're a devoted bunch, the fan base, not only for Springfield, but for Chicago as well, right? I mean, Chicago as a bury in an empty net, Josh Levo with 22 seconds.
You had to figure Josh Levo was going to get on the score sheet in some way, shape, or form here,
The smiles. That's his 15th of the playoffs. And you'd have to think after that, he's got to be the MVP, right, guys?
He just jumps into the bench in his celebration there.
I mean, he's got to be the MVP. He has had an unreal playoffs, and he has Kochekov around the neck just celebrating.
Yeah, I mean, this is the stuff that, if you're watching as a fan of another team, it makes you say, boy, I want this to be my team next year. If you're a player from another team looking at it, you got to say, hey, this needs to be us next year.
5 seconds left in the period. That's it.
And there we go, guys. The Wolves are your 2022 Calder Cup champions. Everybody off the bench piles into Alex Lyon. That goal is off the moorings and pinned against the boards there. It's just absolute mayhem.
How about that, though? An awesome scene there for the Wolves there for Alex Lyon, earning a shutout to win a Calder Cup there. He's come a long way in this league here, and to earn this for him, I get chills. I can't help but be a fan of the guy, honestly. He's awesome. A great mark for him to be able to say he got the shutout to earn this win, coming in after, Kochekov maybe stole the spotlight from him a little bit with his great performances there. But you just can't say enough about how great of a season he has. One of those guys you absolutely can't help but love, honestly.
And the Springfield Thunderbirds are down on their end of the ice. We saw both the goalies just approaching all of the skaters. They're all telling each other, I assume, great job. I didn't ever get the feeling that they weren't really trying. These guys skated with everything that they have. Now they're just waiting for the celebration for the Wolves to finish, and they are lining up for one of the greatest traditions in all of sports. the handshake line.
And the fans screaming, "Let's go T-Birds," and just before that handshake as well. Uh, again, the devotion of this fan base, but a hard-fought series for Springfield, a great playoff run at that. It's great to kind of witness this history live.
Yeah, those chants for the T-Birds gave me chills there. That's awesome. Yeah. This Springfield's behind these guys 100%. I expect them to be very tough contenders again next season.
Yeah, now we're getting a lot of shouts of "We love you, T-Birds" raining down as the handshake line continues. Right now, they're zoomed in on Stefan Nason and shaking hands. I mean, both of these teams, what special squads. I mean, I don't think a lot of us saw the T-Birds getting this far, but they proved, I think, a lot of people wrong. And just a great job by the St. Louis organization getting this team, and of course the Springfield organization, getting this team as far as they did. But that Carolina affiliate, Chicago Wolves, again, are your 2022 Calder Cup champions. And wow, just what a team. They were at the top all season long.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to see anybody else winning it in some senses this season. The Wolves were, started off the season great. We were talking about some of those stats they had there with scoring the first goal. And, I think that they had won 50 games when scoring the first goal. I can't remember all the stats specifically, but, a lot of these stats you just can't make up. And when you do those kinds of things, it puts a thought into any other team saying, hey, we're pretty good, but man, look at those guys there. You hate to say a team of destiny or, hard to be denied and stuff, but they're just a special group. And, some of these guys will surely move on, but I'm sure many of them will be back. And, the Wolves will, certainly be back to defend their title easily for sure next season. But, it's a special season and it's hard to see it going any other way.
And before Springfield heads off for the final time this season, they are at center ice, sticks in the air, saluting the Springfield faithful for an amazing season. And of course, the love is being returned right back to the players. But you got to give it to that crowd. Sold out. They were behind them the entire way.
And Chicago did it best. I think that's the important part here to remember is Chicago simply did it best. They had some of the best goaltending throughout the league. They had some of the best defense and offense. The coaching, we've talked so much about it in the podcast. He's most likely going to be the next NHL coach, Warsofsky. So, I mean, it's a short summer of celebration for them, and for Springfield, it's a long summer of recuperating.
Yeah, we're still getting the podium and everything all set up, but all the Chicago Wolves players have their championship hats on. A lot of the Chicago staff are now out on the ice as well, along with the coaching staff and the players. They're zooming in on Andrew Podorowski, who is a back-to-back champ here. He was with that 2019 Charlotte Checkers squad that took home the championship that year, and now here he is captaining the team once again. What a group here.
Feels great to see the Calder Cup presentation coming out here. I always get a little bit of chills when I see these sorts of things. It's been so long, it's just, you think back to just the fact that it was 2019, over 3 years ago at this point, we were last doing this. And, just to see it coming out again makes you excited. Makes me smile. Makes me feel a lot better about things, getting to see that we're at this point again, honestly.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes in the world since the Calder Cup was last raised, and it's nice to get back to this as they show Drury and Lion embrace, Jameson Reese coming in, just everyone. It's just so nice to see so many happy people. They're getting ready to do a quick photo. Kochekov doing Kochekov things, getting the team hyped up for this photo here.
I think there'll be a couple of crumble cookies a little later on, for sure, with these guys.
Oh, they probably got a whole box of them back in the back. Which I have the Chicago Wolves to thank, because I have never had crumble cookies until we started talking about it here on the podcast. And Andrew asked Jack Drury about it. And yeah, I went and got some. Good stuff, guys. But there she is.
You're going to have to start shipping some down to us lowly Canadians, because unfortunately we can't enjoy the same luxuries that you do.
I'll have to see how well they ship.
I will be expecting.
And Scott Housen is on the ice for the presentation.
As tradition, the league president gets booed. Not as bad as Bettman.
He's okay. He gets a pass, I think. It's hard to believe just a few seasons ago he was sitting up next to me in the press box in Cleveland as a scout for the Edmonton Oilers. And now he's the head of the AHL.
That's amazing.
He's congratulating the Thunderbirds on their amazing season. Again, just what a run for that team.
Got the Jack Butterfield for trophy for MVP coming up here first.
It's gotta be Levo, right?
Oh yeah, hard to believe there's anybody else. Honestly, Josh Levo takes it. Love those hats, by the way. Those are sharp-looking hats they got there for the championship.
Josh Levo is the MVP of the Calder Cup Finals. I mean, and not that he had a bad regular season or anything, but he was so overshadowed by that top line with CJ Smith and Stefan Nason and Andrew Podorowski. But he took it into high gear here in the Calder Cup playoffs and just never let off. But I mean, that entire line, and Kochekov doing the "we are not worthy" bow as Levo skates back to his team.
Their third Calder Cup championship in their history. Again, they're just about to lift their Holy GrAHL in what has been a tremendous season.
Of course, we had a few little boo birds starting to come down, but those quickly went into cheers. Great job, Springfield. Turned that right around, but they had to get one last little punch in. And Andrew Podorowski has been summoned to lift their Holy GrAHL, the Calder Cup. Stop for a quick picture. Or several quick pictures.
It's funny to think that this is his second time winning it since he won it, obviously back in 2019. But to him, it's both because of the fact that it wasn't awarded for a couple of years there, as well as, the fact that he's doing it with a completely different team almost probably makes it, it's hard to make that stat feel like it's a normal thing or like, oh man, like he's, won the Calder Cup 2 years in a row, because it really isn't. So it's almost like, a brand new feeling for him all over again, I'm sure.
Podorowski skates it after he grabs it with his team. A great show of sportsmanship by him as well. I mean, it's hard for him to believe that 3 years ago, the Calder Cup that he won would be the last one that he would win it for another 3 years, but the last one that anybody would win for 3 years. Stefan Nason is the first he handed off to.
Yeah, what an amazing, like you said, show of sportsmanship there by Podorowski. Instead of taking that first lap, Josh Levo is getting it now, of course, the MVP, but sharing that with his team before he took his individual lap. What a guy. Now, Alex Lyon getting the cup next. What a performance in this game by Alex Lyon.
Now it's handed off to Richard Panik, the veteran.
I mean, there you go. He wins it as a rookie, and now as a very experienced veteran, now he's handing it over to Pyotr Kochetkov, who he came out of nowhere into this league, catching everyone's attention. He's kissing it and holding it like a baby, and of course captured the hearts of the Chicago faithful. We got CJ Smith hoisting it now. Do a quick little skate before going to David Gust. He's the one who sealed the series here today. And he's asking, who wants it? Who wants it? Fitzgerald. Now they're doing like small little loops here. They're just, I think they're ready to go back and celebrate as a team, but everyone's going to take their turn here.
And again, what an AHL season this has been. It's been nothing short of fantastic, right? It's, it's had ups and downs. It's had some really dark moments in this AHL season. It's had some very bright moments as well. We've seen some of the best start from the bottom and work their way up. They grew up so fast, and what a season it's been.
Well, guys, any final thoughts as the players continue to skate with the Calder Cup here about, of course, we'll have an episode totally focused on the finals and the season in review and things like that. But just for this particular night, do you have any final thoughts?
I'm ready for next year already, man. This makes me anxious to want to see my team lift the Calder Cup next, honestly. Like it was said earlier, I mean, this season's been so all over the place. You think back to where we were, so many months ago when we were seeing so many ups and downs and all over the place, just to see the Calder Cup get awarded to this point. You think back to how long these guys have been battling and, how close they surely are as a group, and, to share these battles and to share this, it's special. It's special to see, more trophies get handed out than just a Stanley Cup, as we've seen for a couple of years now. It's great to see, hockey return, and to get this moment. And, I'm sure the AHL is relishing this moment for sure, to get to hand out the hardware again for the first time in a long time. And to see these guys be this excited about it, it's a special feeling, and it's great to see. And, I know the road to next season will start very quickly here as we hit the draft and free agencies around the corner or two. And, next season's already well underway for all these teams. And, it's only a matter of time until we're back in the saddle again for a new season.
And you know what? For Chicago, celebrate it. They've worked very hard. I would say that they've worked the hardest out of any team to win it. And I would say for Springfield, it's a great series that you had. It's unfortunate that the bounces just never went your way, but they've won 4 games. What more can you say?
Yeah, this has just been a season unlike any other, and it has been a joy to share this moment. Corey, Zack, I don't know what else to say, but we'll figure out a few words, and we will be back next week with a brand new the Holy Grail, wrapping up this entire season, this crazy postseason as more players continue to take their lap with it. But I think that's going to be it for us here. So again, the Chicago Wolves are your 2022 Calder Cup champions. If you enjoyed this broadcast, be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or subscribe to us on YouTube, and we'll be back next week. On behalf of my co-host here at the Holy Grail, have a great night. As Brian Warsofsky celebrates with the cup, and that's going to be it. Thanks so much, guys.